Hello, my name is Alun. My pronouns are he, him, and today I'm facilitating the third session of a 7-session series of Free from the Yoke. This is a game from UFO Press. Sorry, I've set an alarm to tell me to start. From UFO Press, based on Legacy Life Among the Ruins, but in a more medieval setting, Dark Age setting, I suppose. If you want more intro, then go check out session 1. All I'm going to say is that we are playing with a set of safety tools. So there are lines and veils in place. We're also playing with the X card and an open door. And within the Gauntlet Community Code of Conduct. I think that's all I've got to say till we start. So that's my intro done. Let me ask the players to say hello, tell us their pronouns, and introduce us to their character and their house. I'm going to come to Joe last because he's not feeling too great. So let me, I'm going to come to Alex before that because Alex has only just got up because it's some tiny hour of the morning where he is. So I guess, Jason, let me start with you. Say hello and introduce yourself and your character and house.
Okay, I'm Jason. I use he, him pronouns. I am playing the Shining Path, which is the church. Last time our leader embarrassed himself in front of the court, and we had our missionaries tarred and feathered and sent back across the border from intruding into the lands of the Horselords. My character is Salah. He is on the surface, he is a special envoy working directly under the leader of the church, but covertly, he's sort of their spy master. And I think that's all we got so far for us.
Fine, thank you. Let me go next to Dan. Say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to your character and house.
Sure. Hello, my name is Dan. My pronouns are he, him. I am playing the Forgers. They're known as the Sparking Chisel and Blazing Mallet. They are really good at building stuff. They specialize in stone and metal rather than wood. And they're pretty excited about the big project that the Wise have given us, which is to build a road. They have sent young Cassie, she is an ambassador, to collect information about some new machines potentially to help with that. Cassie is a very good ambassador, but still kind of in over her head a little bit. She tagged along with the crew last time to the monolith in the hopes to have some company on her way, and ended up even more in over her head.
Thank you. Let me go next to Alex. Alex, say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to your character and house.
Hi, my name is Alex. My pronouns are he, him. I represent a group called the Cursed, who are refugees who flooded into this land only recently after having been displaced by the Empire years ago. My current NPC is a ranger named Elina, who leads a group of woodswomen, and who is very adept at moving through the land and ferreting out its mysteries.
Thank you very much. And finally, Joe.
Hi, I'm Joe, he, him. I am playing the Horselords of the Steppe. So kind of we're calling the Jezdec, sort of your analog steppe peoples. And the character I am currently playing, this was the oldest looking steppe nomad I could find, and I don't think it's quite old enough, but maybe they're from a blue zone or something, so they look really good old. But I'm playing Gerel, who is a I think he would be the oldest of the characters right now. So he will have participated in the actual revolution, and he is currently an outsider. So he is outside I think defined as sort of being outside the what his house is about right now. So
thank you for that. So those are our characters, those are their houses. Last time we zoomed in to investigate a mystery at an ancient monolith on the southern borders of the land of the wise. And Elina was tasked to find out what was going on. And it appears that the people camping in the shadow of the monolith, of which now only one survives, following the intervention of a tiger, among other things. She claims to be a pilgrim. And I suppose I do need to ask Elina one question before we zoom out from that. What, if anything, do you tell the surviving pilgrim in terms of either who you are? Because presumably, unless you want to do away with her, you're going to allow her to make her way to the city of the Shining Path, where she may have a story to tell. So I'm curious what story she is going to tell if she gets to civilization.
That is a good question. I am I don't think she would straight up lie to her, but she might try to finagle the truth a little bit, or at least spin it from a very certain perspective. And she doesn't necessarily trust I mean, she is very skeptical of what this person has to say, because she doesn't know that this person is not lying to them. But she is also very confused about why they were attacked in the first place, because she was, of course, in the middle of trying to get more information about them, and I mean, attacking them was a possibility, but she had yet to discover that they were an actual threat. And I believe that the Arbiter, who we're referring to as remind me again, please.
This is Katya the Listener, the soul of the wise, the representative of the wise who accompanied you.
The wise. That's what I was trying to remember. Told us to deal with it, not to destroy them. So that it leaves quite a bit for interpretation. So
I mean, just on the upside, at this moment, most of the damage was done by the tiger that stormed into their camp.
That was unclear to me. Thank you.
And I think even Gerel avoided killing any of them. In fact, I think he is the one who physically rescued the survivor, Gropina. So right now, she may be coming to the conclusion that you saved her from a tiger. And I suppose if you want to let that lie as it is, that is the story she'll tell, unless you want to add any detail to it.
No, I think she is trying to put the group into the best light possible. That would make the most sense to her.
The other thing I'll tell you is once she's set on her way heading northwest towards the city, with maybe a surviving mule, is that your followers, your roguish, shadowy followers who you set off to do some kind of surveillance and scouting out, Grigor, unless you want to change his name, who is the top man in this small group, and these followers, I think of them as being a small handful of people. We're talking about 2, 3, 4, 5 people. And Grigor comes to you and says, "I'm sorry, Elina. I think we got too close. I think some of the men, some of the group, they were curious to see what was in the mules, because the mules had some packs, and we just wondered anything valuable in there. So maybe we got too close, and the next thing we knew, they were all over us, and it was kind of hands up or die. So I'm embarrassed that we let you down so badly.
I give my most withering look to Grigor, and I says I trusted you, and your sticky fingers have gotten you in hot water before. This is the last time that I vouch for you.
And there's a kind of look in his face that says, you can take the rogue away from temptation, but then when temptation comes in front of the rogue.
Yes, but we must ultimately look to our people and what is in their best interest, not our own personal best interest. I thought you had learned that the last time, but it seems that you have not.
As I say, forgive me. And at that point, I'm going to zoom out, unless anybody else wants to observe anything on that. Fine.
I just have a quick question.
Go ahead.
One of my house's influence is when you arrive in time to save a group from terrible danger, gain influence over them. So would this pilgrim group, are they considered a group that we would have influence, or I could have influence over?
You will find I have added them to the influence table. So by all means have +1 influence on the pilgrims.
In full disclosure, I did intend to kill every one of them.
That may be what the look on your face tells us, but the reality is that you did a good thing, Gerel.
The tiger was an omen.
So yeah, by all means.
One thing I will say is that she orders her rogues to escort the pilgrim to wherever he was going.
Okay.
As a form of penance, but also to keep an eye on him as well.
Fine. Now, the way that when any followers are taken out permanently, or never permanently, there's always going to be another set of followers for you. It means that they cannot use any of their tags, i.e., in this case, roguish and practically outfitted and having far weapons, whatever it is. That whatever they do, they won't be able to use those until you give them what's called professional care. And professional care is time to recover in a safe place. Now, you could argue that the City of the Shining Path is a safe place. You can send them there, and they'll be safe and sound, conceivably, and they can recover there. But that's the way it works. So narratively, they're going to go to the city with Agropina, and they'll just lie low there until they've recovered. Yeah, fine.
Yeah,
I'm just going to add led by Grigor to their. There we go. Okay. So you've added that. Have you added that? You have, I think, because you will now find, folks, that these NPC. That may not be doing the right job yet. I may not have made the links to the NPCs work. Hang on. So the Jezdec, you're going to have +1 on the Pilgrims, yeah? I think at the minute, Joe, you might have put +1 into the folk of the Riverlands. And then if you hit return, it hasn't appeared in the summary sheet. I need to tinker with those links. I'll sort that out for you. So let's zoom out. You will find a house move called Zoom Out. When you return to the house level after a mission at the character level, each player whose character wasn't involved. So that is simply Jason, because Salah was not personally involved in that, you get the benefits of this. Each player who wasn't involved says what the character was doing instead and gets fleeting advantage on their next house move if it capitalizes on their character's activity. So I guess this requires you to think ahead to what your house move is going to be in a moment, and then phrase an activity around that. I'm very happy to leave that until we come round to your house move, unless you've got something specific in mind immediately.
No, we'll do it then. Yeah.
Okay, don't let me forget.
Okay.
So let's go first to the Jezdec Horselords then, because Joe, you thought that you might want to address the task that you were given involving people, a vision of people going missing or people mourning in the village of Lesniki in the north of the Land of the Wise. What kind of house level approach are you thinking of taking?
I was thinking of leaning into my house's strength, and doing, I'm sorry, I'm getting over to the house moves tab, and claim by force. So the thought process is that they would send a I don't know, whatever the unit of horse warriors is. Squad came to mind, but that doesn't feel quite right. But to go in and see what kind of take control of the area, and I don't know if that's appropriate. The only problem I have with that using that move is that assumes that there's something to seize or maintain control of, right?
Yeah, now the way you would normally run this would be you'd think about what is there to seize.
What about the land? What if I took this opportunity to seize control of the land?
That would be perfectly legitimate, because you know that we know you're in need of land. We know that is an area of the Wise that is not under the direct control of any other house. So I'm happy for you to infer there is land to be taken there. Yeah. So yeah, let's go to seize by force. When you direct your house to seize or maintain control of a resource, roll plus grasp. Unless there's a house move that a playbook house move that does more than that. So what's your grasp? It's quite good, isn't it?
I think so. Yes, it's +2. So I think that's the one. I was looking at some of the other ones. Read the Wind was the other one I was thinking about, which would have been maybe a more subtle approach, but
yeah, I mean, that might have told you what exactly was happening there.
Yeah, who needs to know what's happening when you can just
take the village?
Yes. All right, so we're doing a 2d6.
We are.
All right. Hold on, and I'm +2. Oh, good God. I'm the worst horse lords ever.
Okay, well, it's not a hit, so it's not yours. I am going to remove your surplus scouts because you send a significant body of them to Lesniki and none of them come back. So delete surplus scouts, please, from your tab, and I'll come back round to you to see if there's anything you want to do about that. More going on at Lesniki than you might have thought. Let's go next to Dan. What have the Chisel and Mallet got on the agenda as a house at the minute?
I think they are. I think I'm going to read the Wind, and I think I'm going to read the Wind because they're still trying to get their ducks in a row for this great project. Since it's a construction project, they feel sort of especially a lot of pressure to perform on it, but they need supplies, and they need to make sure they can feed their laborers and things like that.
So ask one of these questions, it says. So when you call on your house's agents and allies, roll plus reach and ask one of these questions.
And
I will interpret those questions as broadly as I reasonably can.
Okay. I think last time we used subterfuge to kind of gain control, or not gain control, but clear out the Ashen Ward. So I feel like the house probably has a pretty good handle on that. I think we want to find out where can we get surplus materials for to start building the road.
Okay. So let's have you roll the dice.
My what's it called? Reach is 2. That was terrible. I rolled a 7.
Okay. On a hit, you get an answer to the question. The materials you want now, you've got. I see. Remember, you've got lumber, haven't you, as a surplus?
Yes, because we're planning on using that to build machines. But
Yeah,
yes.
I think that the what other raw materials do you think you need for this?
We are very ambitious and would like to build this road out of granite and marble and stuff like that.
Okay. I think that the best might be worth just reminding ourselves what we've got on the table in terms of locations. I think that while you have control of the resources of the Reach Mountains, or most of them, the best building stone, the quarry that you operated on behalf of the Empire, is the obvious place to get it. But that's already in your gift. So I think as long as you, I think I'm going to give you surplus stone.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think that's fine. I think surplus stone. But,
I mean,
no, go on.
I would be okay because of the 7 for it being especially hard to get. Like the quarry was maybe kind of cleared out and we need to excavate it further. Or I was thinking we could, we need to reopen those mines further east.
That's what I'm wondering is
okay.
because on a 7 to 9, choose one of your allies. You consulted to mark the map instead. So the question is, which of these allies helped you identify? And I'll go with quarry or mine or anywhere else. I really don't mind. But, good building stone is what we're after. So who did you consult?
That is a good question.
And then they get to mark where it is.
Yeah, so there's so many choices. I feel like maybe we leaned on the Horselords since they've been kind of riding around and doing some exploring, and we also know that we pissed them off previously, so we are sort of like, where could we dig where it wouldn't be a problem for you?
So Horselords, you get to put the location of this good building stone, which needn't be anywhere near a mountain if you don't want it to be. Depends how convenient you want to make this for the Chisel Mallet.
Joe, you're on mute.
Sorry, that was. I'm sure whatever I was saying was brilliant that you missed. But, so I'm looking at the map here.
I mean, there's that old ruin in the north of the land. I mean, that's not doing anything useful. Just repurpose the Temple of the Prophet.
What if the quarry was up where all this? You're talking about up way in the north there.
Well, I'm just saying that the Temple of the Prophet is made of stone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, actually, I'm wondering, what if the quarry is? I'll just throw this out there. What if the quarry is up north of the Field of Bones in this same area where this other stuff is happening?
That works for me. I'm going to put a point of interest up there north of on the edge of the Field of Bones, and label it.
Excellent.
Building stone. I mean, there's also a monolith. I suppose you could repurpose the monolith, but let's put the building stone up there in the north. Okay. Do you want to do anything else with that at this point, or do you want to wait till I come round to you again, Chisel and Mallet?
Oh, I think we need to do some planning before we do anything else.
Okay. Let me go next to the cursed. The cursed. What Alex are you thinking the cursed is interested in doing at the level of the house right now?
I am desperately trying to come up with something at the moment. I'm a little not unclear, but just we haven't really nailed down exactly what is going to be needed to complete the project that the Wise have asked us to complete.
There are some suggestions on the Wise tab, fairly obvious suggestions that say things like raw materials, artisans, engineers, recruits, defenses, leadership. But I'm open. If you can spin a surplus you already have to being useful in a road building project, I'm here to listen.
The obvious one is the recruits, because the main thing that road building projects need is people to build the road,
particularly in this time period. Absolutely.
So unless you have the people, it all remains in the planning stages. So but because the house has a need for coin, so I guess in game terms, what I want to do is not exactly covered by any of the house moves, at least none that I can currently see.
Tell me fictionally, what are you wanting to achieve, and we'll work out how to get there.
I want my people to get paid. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to remove, maybe not remove the need. I don't need to necessarily, mechanically remove it, but just play towards the need.
Okay, well, let me put that in game terms of the crudest kind. You ship a bunch of recruits to the great city using the logistics move, which is whenever you move a surplus from one place to another, and you hope they get there. And we put recruits into the Wises project, which will mark progress, and it's all to the good. And then, of course, the most obvious source of coin on the table so far is the huge wealth of the Shining Path. And so you could claim by force by going on strike in Al Tariq, by staging riots until the church buys you off. Do you see where I'm coming from? You don't really get paid because the Wise expects you to do this out of, faith in the Wise. You owe them your freedom and everything else. So the Wise are not going to pay you, but there is coin on the table. Alternatively, you could use Read the Wind to say, where could I find surplus coin? In that context, I might say, the great city. You'll need to negotiate a pay arrangement.
Could he use call in debt? He has influence over the Shining Path.
He does. So, look, I tell you, I've over there in column H and I on the house tab, I've put an FAQ on resources and influence. And it says, one, why should I worry about resources? So if we just step out for a moment and just check in on the rules, because there are a lot of them. How do I meet a need? Gain a surplus in the same resource and erase it to cancel the need. Okay, how do I gain a surplus? Read the wind to find it and then claim it by force. Or spend influence to call in a debt on a house or faction and take a surplus they have from them. Or ask the arbiter for it using favor. Because there's a thing called somewhere. You can't find it. There is. You can ask the arbiter, and generally speaking, they will do their best for you. I need to find the move now. Anyway, so that's how you could get surplus coin. But shall we start with the recruit end of this?
Sure.
So it is your intention then to send a whole bunch of your recruit surplus out of the shanty towns at Tariq and send them to the great city so they are ready to begin building.
Well, it's not, I mean, when I say we are a collection of counselors and elders and et cetera, et cetera.
That's right. You're the nearest we've got to a representative democracy. What does that look like when we, if we see that meeting, what does it look like?
If you've ever watched the proceedings of the House of Commons when they are debating something controversial, that is when we are at our most politest. So on the one hand, we do have this cultural background in making decisions collectively, or by that the representatives make a decision for us. But at the same time, we also conversely have a incredible reputation of not getting very much done because nobody can come to a goddamn decision. So with there's tradition, a great cultural tradition of arguing vociferously with one another. Sometimes things stay quiet, and sometimes knives will come out, but that's just how things are. That's just how we roll.
And I think I'm probably seeing a scene where Graupina, escorted by your limping and disheveled rogues, arrive at Tariq just as this is getting going, and Graupina is just fascinated by this display of apparently a community making decisions about what should happen through discussion and argument. Yeah. How interesting.
I mean, ultimately what happens, just to make it simpler, each family, quote unquote family within the cursed, has a token of some sort, and that is their voting, that is their vote. So whoever holds the token is the current representative of that family, and everybody is talking. So it ends up taking a very, very long time. Whatever decision is made is never made hastily, because someone is always going to want to chime in, to put their 2 cents in, so to speak.
That's brilliant. Okay, so logistics says when your house moves a surplus from one place to another, so you are going to delete recruits from your tab. Pick one for each point of mood below 0. I think your mood. What is your mood at the moment? Is it below 0?
It's +1.
Then you'd have to pick any of those. The movement of this kind of human caravan of labor moves from Tariq, where you delete it, and I will write recruits into the surplus delivered, and I will mark progress. The wise will be content because the Chisel Mallet are taking forever to negotiate the clearance of the Ashen Ward. It's just, it's taking weeks. So let me come next to the Shining Path.
Okay. I'm going to do that zoom out thing we talked about. Please. But first, let me do a couple quick things. I have for my doctrine, comforters. If you have a God-given duty to provide aid to those in need. When you provide meaningful aid, blah blah blah. So I think we established that the the people that were living in the Ashen Ward are being displaced by this project. So I think they have a need for charitable support. So I would like to activate that to go help them.
That works for me. So what does
I-
that look like? What do we see you doing?
I think we see groups of missionaries, you know, and priests, you know, moving in there, distributing, you know, spiritual aid and also some, you know, food and clothing, you know, kind of more material aid. And this gives me influence on whoever caused their hurt, which I think would be the arbiter. Can you have influence on the wise?
Well, no. You see, it's the Chisel and the Mallet who are acting on behalf of the wise. You know, the Chisel and the Mallet are the eviction service in this, albeit a very politely argued and you know, no harsh measures taken. So yeah, it is the Chisel and Mallet that you will gain influence over.
Okay. All right. And then I have, let's see, I have a house move. Word travels fast. Once a season, you may send a mission of your clergy to a settlement, which I think is what I just did.
Yeah.
As long as the rulers of the settlement take no action to expunge you, your sleight or cunning rolls are made with advantage.
Such a spy master. Okay, so anything with sleight or cunning is with advantage. So what have you got in mind, Shining Path?
So I think what we see with the zoom out thing is that we see Salah and his followers, which I'm calling the 11, these other spies slash diplomats, rogues, moving amongst these poor and disadvantaged individuals, spreading words, talking amongst them, passing some purses of jingly coin, you know, to key figures. And what I am doing, trying to trigger, is read the wind. Basically, how do we get surplus blank? Trying to find out what here is worth stealing from the wise, or and I guess maybe the mallet.
Okay, okay, I think I need some idea what surplus you're after.
Well,
or we can roll it and you can just tell me.
Yeah, I think that's kind of, I probably I'm guessing they're piles of raw materials, I guess would probably be the best. I need that, and I would imagine they're starting to stockpile some stuff here. So,
well, so far,
potentially I could steal those recruits that just arrived from.
Well, I think they're en route as you're sorting out the Ashen Ward. There are no the Chisel and Mallet have no resources in any one place. It's scattered hither and yon, so their resources are safe from stealing.
I'm thinking probably using read the wind to create a surplus, really. I guess.
So which one are you interested in?
How do we get surplus blank? Probably raw materials.
Okay. So go ahead then. Let's have you roll that move. You are using reach.
And I get advantage because it's the zoom out, right? On your first, you get what do they call it? Passing advantage when you zoom out. Fleeting advantage on your next house move, capitalizing on your character's action. Okay. All right, here we go. +1. 4 + 3 is 7, +1 is 8.
Well, I mean, on the upside, that is probably the best roll you've had in this game so far. So congratulations. So yes, I can therefore tell you that the most obvious place for raw materials is the quarry, or you can wait for those raw materials to appear at the kind of place where these recruits are being accumulated near the great city. So take your pick. It's either kind of waiting to be harvested at the quarry, or it is you can hold on and wait until it appears as at the project.
Let's say we prepared ourselves for the arrival of the stuff from the quarry.
Okay, so let's put
it says on a 7 and 9, choose one of the allies you consulted to
Yes.
mark the map instead.
Oh, they say where it is. Oh goodness, yes, so they do. So who are you using as an in here?
My preference is to steal from the wise, so I guess it would be you. But if we want to do a player, I guess it would probably be Dan.
Yeah, it has to be. You never get influence or anything else on the wise.
Okay.
So Chisel Mallet. Chisel Mallet, where do you want to put the raw materials that the Shining Path have got an eye on? And of course, once you put those raw materials on the map, Dan, there's no reason why you can't try for them as well.
Right. I may need help developing this idea, but I'm sort of imagining that we're using one of these rivers to ship the raw materials. And I'm thinking it's actually the one that's kind of shooting out to the north of the great city, northeast, I guess, of the great city.
Yeah. So shall I pop a point of interest somewhere on there like that?
Yeah, maybe you've got these little houses on the high-res map, and
Yeah,
maybe it's right there
Okay, I'll put it near one of
along
those.
the river.
There-ish. Does that make sense? Or further up?
I'm not seeing what you are doing.
Oh, really?
Where should I be? Where could I be seeing that?
Oh, right. I think I've just popped a point of interest onto the land in the common map, if you will.
Oh, wait. Oh, I see. There's another link to a map. I'm in a much better. Sure. Yeah, that looks great.
Yeah. Okay. And I will call that raw materials.
Mm-hmm.
Generic raw materials. Is that what you wanted, Jason?
Yeah, so the idea, think, if I understand, is that there's some sort of raw materials coming down the river, some sort of barges or something.
Maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
Just sitting there waiting, who knows what for.
Sure.
Let me go back round to the Jezdec. Are you at all curious why you've heard nothing from those scouts? And if so, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah. Yes. This time I'm going to pay attention to my moves when I do this stuff, because I have a move that I should have been able to do that at advantage, but we're past that. I'm supposed to do my claim by force as an advantage, but c'est la vie. So this time I think we probably, I was thinking the most obvious thing would be to so the two thoughts I had were something with read the wind, right? But
what's happening in Lesniki?
yeah, I was thinking if there was a thing I could do maybe with another house, but I don't think this is a call-in. I don't think this is a call-in debt thing. Plus, I want to save that because my mood is -2, and so I'm real close to triggering something there. So yeah, so I think it's read the wind. I think to try to see, what's happening in that region. So
okay, go for it. Roll plus reach.
all right. And I think I'm 0 on reach, so
oh my, that's a 6.
bad. We're the worst ever.
What's happening in and around the place of bones and Lesniki? I think that rumor says that an army of ghosts have emerged from the place of bones and are marching towards the steppe. Yeah. An army of Imperial Dead. I think I'll call that a threat for the map.
All right. Yes. Yes. Wow, the rolls are great today.
I think you are in a proud tradition of rolls on this game so far. So
Well, it actually kind of leans into one of the thoughts I had relative to my house right now, which is, Gerel is he's in that sort of outsider mode, and he's very warlike, as you've seen. And that one of my thoughts is that the reason he's an outsider is because the house has turned away currently and is less is not embracing what he considered the traditions of the steppe, right? And so that might explain why we are inept at doing warlike things right now. That's at least how I'm going to characterize it.
Okay, I have added an army of Imperial Dead heading from the place of bones towards the Great Steppe. Across the route to some building stone, Chisel and Mallet. How interesting. So let's go back round. Chisel Mallet, do you want to do another house move, or are you content at the minute?
I think I want to gather up the supplies using the logistics move. Sorry. So I think, according to my character keeper, I've got marble that's dispersed.
Yeah.
And so I would like to undisperse that marble and get it set up in the Ashen Ward. It's clear we need to start building this thing right away to show some progress. So, and one of the architects has this idea for a gate for the road, and they're itching to break ground on that.
I love that. I love that. So what is your current mood?
I think it's 1. Hang on. Current mood is 1.
Oh, well, that's fine then. So logistics, you'd have to pick any of those bad things for logistics. So you can simply now put the Great City as the location, or the Ashen Ward, if that's where you're kind of accumulating resource and people. You can simply put marble bang smack there. And are you allocating that to the project?
100%. Yes.
Fine. Then you delete that surplus from your sheet, and I add marble to the surplus delivered to the project, and mark a second progress. Oh, suddenly things are accelerating in the spring of 21 after the victory of the wise. What about the cursed, Alex? Has the cursed got any other plan it would like to undertake?
No, not at the moment.
I wondered if you wanted to seize some money from anyone, that's all.
Well, there. Yeah, perhaps. So, sorry. Yeah, I think the Shining Path owes them still, and so the Elder Council, the ruling council. I'm still workshopping a good name for the democratic institution that heads the family.
I'm sure naming the organization is a key part of the discussion that's currently going on.
And has been going on for the last 20 years, FYI. There are currently 3 names in contention. Anyway, because they are perennially lacking in funds, and because the shining we are considered such great adherents and followers of the shining path, having been brought in after we emigrated here, or migrated, I guess. Emigrate, you go back and forth, we don't. Since we emigrated here, they're looking to the shining path to help finance the move out of the shanty towns, and because it's not just, you know, the workers who move, this is going to be a long-term project, so whole entire families and neighborhoods will be moving, and we feel that we need some help financially in this.
Okay.
Or
So,
whatever. We haven't exactly come up with a system of what we haven't. Have we yet determined exactly what our system of economics is? If we have money, or if it's all barter, or
I think there is coin. I think, you know, nobody talks about it, but the Empire, you know, what did the Empire ever do for us?
Right.
I think coin may be part of that. I'm sure
Okay.
barter exists alongside that, but I think that coin, I love the idea that somewhere deep in the temple of the Grand Imam, there are sacks of gold coins. So this sounds like either you are calling in a debt on the part of the Shining Path. So you are going to lose one influence on the Shining Path and just take surplus coin to cancel out your need for it. Or it seems to me that you could use subterfuge to convince the Shining Path that it is better to pay you than not, i.e. make the resource coin appear less desirable to them. And that might then give you advantage in your claim by force. And claim by force can be force of personality. It doesn't need to be, you know, literal force. That's what I've got in mind at the minute. So do you have influence on the Shining Path?
Yes, we have influence on each other, actually.
So do you want to call in that debt so that the Shining Path hand over sacks of coin?
Well, unless there's no way of doing it and still maintaining it, is there?
No, because there is a certain amount of money in the land at the moment. Now, somebody could find a source of wealth, but at the minute, the only source of wealth in the land of the wise is locked up with the Shining Path.
Okay, so let's go with that then.
Okay, so remove the influence, reduce your influence on the Shining Path by 1. Jason, delete surplus coin.
Well, I'm going to do this part. It says if a player house refuses your request,
Aha!
they must hold together.
Okay.
With disadvantage if their favor is below yours. I think our favors are equal. I think we're both +1, aren't we?
Let me just check.
Actually, my favor is a little better than the cursed.
Yeah, their favor is 0.
So I think I just roll straight up normal.
I think was the cursed, wouldn't they have gotten, I think there's when they get don't they get favor when they give a resource project?
Yes, I think they do, don't they? Have I not? Have I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds familiar. Yeah.
But
I
fate.
saw that somewhere.
And where are you going with that? Because I'm not seeing how that favor that impacts on this exchange.
When you deliver the arbiter one of their surpluses they need, increase the tracker by 1 and gain 1 favor. Yep.
Yeah, so both the cursed and Chisel Mallet should have 1 more favor.
Oh, I thought yeah. I just was thinking it might impact the way that thing goes, right?
But I am noticing, Alex.
We're doing it still be the same. Yeah.
I am noticing, Alex, that you haven't deleted recruits from your resources. So your mood goes from +1 to 0 because you've sent those recruits overland. because you've got 2 surplus and 2 needs, so mood is 0. So your mood is 0. The Shining Path. I mean, you've added raw materials there, Jason, to your needs. That it's not a need for you. It's something you want to get. Right? It's not a
No, you had given me that because of my
because
bad
of
roll.
the lightning strike on the missionary base. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
yes. Yeah. Fine. So you're at -1 mood at the moment,
Yeah.
and the cursed are at 0.
Well, it's not mood, it's favor that we're looking at right now.
Oh, sorry, my mistake.
I think we're both at +1, which I think is a wash. It doesn't affect this roll.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I roll hold together and you roll with mood, which for me is -1. So this can't go bad at all. And that's a 3. So let's see, on a miss is a miss.
Okay, so I'm going to apply 2. You don't mostly remain okay. You get need recruits Shining Path.
Okay.
Because suddenly it looks like the power balance in Tariq has shifted. So you need more people to believe. The level of belief in the populace has shifted away from the Shining Path because you've been belittled by the cursed of all people.
All right.
So I'm going to apply that one, and I'm going to give the cursed +1 influence over you.
Okay. Plus I lose my coin, right?
You lose your coin.
All right.
So cursed +1 influence on the Shining Path. The balance of power in Tariq has shifted significantly.
Although that's just back to where I was before, because I had lost the influence and now I've gained it back.
Yeah, now you can spend that influence to take something else from them. So let's who I got left? I think the Shining Path is what's left. There is this supply of raw materials coming upriver towards the great city. Do you have a plan, Shining Path?
Yeah. So let me lay this out now, just to kind of, hopefully we can kind of streamline this as much as possible. So I have sort of a multi-step process I'm hoping to go through here. So my character is here, his agents are moving around, our missionaries are here in the Ashen Ward. And what I'm hoping to do is to create unrest and riots against the Arbiter here in the Ashen Ward, and hopefully sabotage their project. In addition, and in the turmoil, I hope to claim one of these juicy surpluses that are here, one of these resources, and escape from here and leave evidence that puts the blame on the leader of my church, and that would allow me to accomplish my goal, my role move. So that's sort of like I said, a multi-step process I'm hoping to get through. Given the way the dice are going, I'll probably fail at every step of the way, but that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, well, the way you come at this then is you want to mark doom on the project. You can't unmark progress. You can try to outdo it by doom.
Exactly.
So mark doom when the construction collapses or subsides, saboteurs attack the building site, blah blah blah. So this sounds like that's what you want to start with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that sounds like, I think, subterfuge.
Okay.
That is what you want to do, and you are wanting to remove any trace of your own involvement. You can frame someone else in their place if you wish.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is subterfuge to do harm to the preparations for the road building in the Ashen Ward. Roll plus sleight.
Okay. So I think this is probably takes the form narratively of, moving. I had established that we were moving amongst the people spreading word about how horrible this is, what the wise are doing. I think Alex established that the people see creating roads as sort of a what was the word you used? Sort
An
of
obstacle, that kind of it's got
against
imperial
the
connotations.
yeah, exactly. So everybody is already prone to be against it. And because of my other thing, my house move I get advantage on this.
You
So,
do.
and I have a +1 slight.
So 3d6, pick the top two, add 1.
If I miss this, I'm gonna scream. Okay, that's a 13.
Well, talk about one to the other. So this goes terribly well. On a hit, you do it. So I'm going to mark Doom on the Arbiter's project, the Wise's project, as unrest. The best efforts of the Chisel Mallet, we know that they are going to get people to move out of the Ashen Ward, but it's disruptive. The arrival of the Cursed in the area, so there's a whole load of people coming to, they're taking our jobs. This is terrible. It all gets a little bit heated, and that adds doom to the project. And you said you want to leave evidence that this has nothing to do with Salah or the doctors that he's brought to the Ashen Ward,
right.
And instead you want to frame the High Priest of the temple.
Exactly. So if I do succeed, that would allow me to change my role move. So yeah, that's what I'm looking to do.
So you have a role move which shifts you from champion to
it would be rogue. Mark, when you usurp the power of another, say why you're not only right but morally justified. The GM tells you who will be hurt by doing this. That's what I'm aiming at.
Fine. Well, I think you just did that.
Great.
I think that word gets back. Maybe some Chisel and Mallet ambassador is banging on the door of the temple saying to the man, look, proof positive that your high priest was responsible. How do you want us to see that high priest? Is this exile into the wilderness? Is this, some grisly death?
I think we see Salah. I think we see him taking to the tree, and however it was done in the past where they sacrificed our hostages to the trees, the same fate is his.
Buried alive.
Exactly. And I think we see a flashback, the part about not only why you're right, but you're morally justified. I think we see a flashback to when Salah was a little boy, and it was his mother that was the hostage from our church that was sacrificed. And this is his payback.
Oh my. So I have added Abdul Jabbar, high priest speaker, betrayed by Salah and buried alive in the grove of trees at Al Tariq.
Mm-hmm.
And you mark rogue.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a good bit of explanation for everybody else. That means that you get an advancement.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is a new move, or you could raise a stat, I believe.
Exactly so. So a new character move or improve a character stat.
And you have a part here. The GM tells you who will be hurt by doing this.
Yes. The person who is hurt by this is the Grand Imam, the Shining One. Because she entirely trusted, entirely reasonably, Al-Jabbar. He was the best speaker of the Imam there ever has been. And now he has betrayed all the kind of the values of the church. And she is shaken by this. She's young. She looked on him as a father figure.
Okay, perfect.
I'll write shaken by the loss of what's his name, Abdul Jabbar, who she thought of as a father. ... Okay, let's hope she doesn't find out who done it. I'll check in around the table, see if everybody else wants a house move, or whether you're ready for a zoom in. But we're going to take a break now. It is 9 minutes past. I'm going to suggest that we take until 20 past. It's a bit late. 20 past. And then when we come back, I want to know, do you want another house move round, or do you want to zoom in? And the zoom in is going to be Cassie in the Riverlands, unless somebody tells me different. Okay? Fine. Okay, we're back from our break. And I suppose I have some observations at this point before I ask if you want to go round the houses literally again. I think that an observation, you know, as we see the shanties of the cursed, perhaps again from Graupina the Pilgrim's point of view, what we see is that there are factions within the cursed who are arguing about priorities and about how to achieve them. And a vocal minority are saying, well, it's all very well supporting the wise and their project, and it's all very well, you know, it's getting the shining path to finally recognize that we're people worth paying. But what about the justice that we seek? What about what the Horse Lords owe us? So it's almost like there's a little kind of party developing. I suppose I'm just foreshadowing, Alex, that if the cursed don't address that somehow, or aren't seen to be trying to address that, there's a faction within the cursed who that's their interest. Maybe they're a group who have a particular interest in whatever it was, but that's what's ticking over there. In the case of the Shining Path, the focus of unrest among the faithful is very much, no wonder we are no further forward in reclaiming the Temple of the Prophet. Clearly, the church hierarchy has been much more focused on material things. Where did they get all that money to pay the cursed? They need to get back on their kind of theological direction of travel. That's the bubbling pot there, I think, among others, given how many needs you now have. In the case of the Chisel Mallet, the house continues to work diplomatically and carefully with the residents of the Ashen Ward, and just where you're getting somewhere, a whole influx of people arrive from the cursed from Tariq. That stirs up all kinds of communal threatenings and tensions. And at the same time, reserves of food are getting very low. That need crops could turn into food riots soon, if there's not some effort to address it. And meanwhile, among the Jezdec, I think probably cut to a council of the clans with I've forgotten the name of your Ashagambu, High Khan of the Steppe clans. And Ashagambu is under some pressure because you make a big show of being militarily strong, but the people in that tent know how much of that is pretense. You have negligible military force. You know, somebody says, yeah, we had to send that old man out into the world. You know, he should be resting with his herds, not out there in the world carrying the flag of the clans. And now it appears that we're under direct military threat. What will you do, High Khan? So that's the context. So let's go around and see if anybody else has got a house move in mind. And then I would like to do another zoom in today. Yeah. So I'm thinking we'll run this, and then we've got, I'd like a zoom in to run for about an hour at the end of the game. So let's see how far we get. I don't know, Joe, if I started with you last time on house moves, but I'm going to start with you again, because that's one less thing for me to think about.
So I feel mildly compelled to, so I have a short out of character question. Like, I was reading, if we go do a turning of the seasons, if we have not accomplished the thing which the wise asked us to do, we will lose favor with them, is my understanding.
You certainly won't gain favor. I favor holding court. If you do it by the end of the season, gain favor. Oh, no, you're right. If you do it by the end of the season, gain 1 favor. If you don't, lose 1 favor. And
So if we don't-
any one of you can say, I want to end the season.
right, so if
But
the season-
anyone who hasn't had a zoom in focused on them can veto that.
okay, so at this point, the Jezdec have not addressed that which the Wise has asked us to, right?
I'm not sure that's true. I think that, you intervened and it precipitated what may have just been bubbling under. So I think it is that the place of bones is alive.
So here's what I would like to do, and then we can kind of decide. Well, it's kind of sort of fictionally. I believe that the Jezdec leadership, being under pressure, will want to call in a debt to gain soldiers from. So the only people I have influence over are Chisel and Mallet and the Pilgrims. Can I call in a debt on the Pilgrims for soldiers?
Now, in theory, yes, you could, but I think that what I've given them some characteristics that match my conception of them. Scholars from the South seeking enlightenment, surplus recruits. My goodness me, they do have surplus recruits. What do you know?
So I thought that fictionally that sounded more realistic than Chisel and Mallet. But
yeah, no, I love that. That's fine. I'd forgotten I gave them recruits. So I'm going to delete recruits from the Pilgrims. They are spread across the land. So what I imagine at this point is perhaps Gerel finding Graupina in Tariq, the city of Tariq, and saying, we need help. I helped you, we need help. And what it turns out is that the Pilgrims have been arriving in the land for several years. This was just the first time anyone thought to look. So there are Pilgrims spread over the land. So I'll let you roll the logistics move to see how well this goes. Yeah. Now they
Sure.
are I don't even need to do that for an NPC one. They will gather. You tell them where you want them to meet, and they will bring people.
all right. So I think the point here is that we want to gather the soldiers to address the threat to the land. So
Fine. Well, I think that you can delete need soldiers, and you can adjust your mood to match that. So if you seek to confront the Army of the Dead, you will no longer be at an obvious disadvantage.
so delete soldiers. There's a lot of parts moving here. Then adjust
There are.
mood. Adjust mood.
Mood goes up by 1.
And then reduce influence over Pilgrims to 0.
Exactly. Thank you.
Right.
And they will meet you somewhere between the Temple of the Prophet and the Steplands to confront the Army of the Imperial Dead. Yeah. Okay.
Perfect.
Whether we'll get to that today, I don't know. But let me go next then to the Chisel and Mallet. Chisel and Mallet, you got a house level move you're interested in?
I was thinking more about my zoom in.
Well, that's fine. You can take a pass and we'll come back around quicker for a zoom in.
Hang on. I think they want to grab that building stone to the north of the Field of Bones. And so I guess that's claimed by force.
I think that probably is. I am going to make that a disadvantage, given that the Army of the Dead is moving across that area of terrain, unless you want to leave it for a while.
I mean, we got to wait for these ghosts to get through before we. It feels like maybe we would wait for the ghosts.
Fine. Yeah. Well, then
let's
maybe
let the traffic clear out. Yeah,
exactly. And let's hope they don't get retreat back next week. So we'll that is the intention. It's just a dangerous place to be at the moment, so it's going to impede your operation. Certainly, shipping a load of stuff across country sounds very iffy.
Picturing us in maybe on a hill, just sort of waiting as this army sort of passes below us.
Yeah. Yeah, this is where I want to see you. Want you to roll to hold together, because these are undead, but I'm not going to do that to you. Let's move along to the Shining Path. Whatever they are anymore. Shining Path.
So
what's
I'm
the plan?
thinking. I've got two things I want to do, and I probably the second one's probably better as a zoom in for maybe next week or something. So
Okay.
I'm thinking I would like to take advantage of the turmoil amongst the cursed and the turmoil here in the Ashen Ward to try to convince these arriving recruits to join the Shining Path. Although I guess they were they're now owned by the Wise, is that right?
Yeah, they
So
are on,
all the
site
same,
with
but
Wise.
I want to try to grab that from the Wise then.
And the way that would play is that you would take that and it would add another doom to the project.
Oh, perfect. So maybe that's claim by force.
I think it probably is.
I would argue, given circumstances, maybe I could roll with advantage.
I think a lot of those recruits are the cursed. It's not all the locals you've been moving among, so I don't think so.
Okay.
And the cursed are already devout members of the Shining Path. So.
Indeed.
So maybe they're easy to coerce.
Well, I mean, if you wanted to use influence just to take any recruits.
Well, I don't have influence over the
Wise,
the arbiter,
no.
the Wise.
No,
yeah.
No,
so, okay. Well, hell, why not?
What can go wrong?
Yeah.
Roll plus grasp.
I think it's a +1. Okay, let's give it a shot. Seven, just barely.
Wow. We will go from double sixes down to just the edge.
Just barely squeaking.
Okay.
Choose two from the list.
Well, hang on. On a hit, it's yours. So you now
Yes.
have the recruits. So you can erase need recruits.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said that increases the doom for the
That marks
Wise?
the doom for the Wise. Because
you got that, or you want me to mark that?
I'll mark that one.
Okay.
You alter your mood.
Great.
And I am going to delete recruits from the progress track. So while they are still there, it looks like they're spending all their time praying and doing various important ceremonies. And
you choose, or I choose two, or you choose two?
I was just.
I think I choose two. It looks like on a 7 and 9 choose two. Okay, so I think let's say, God knows I don't want more needs. So let's cause turmoil. I actually like that. Can I choose that twice? Create 2 turmoil, or should I choose the other thing?
I mean, I'm quite interested to see what effect turmoil begins to have.
All right,
So I'm tending to
turmoil.
say, of course you can choose turmoil. So I'll mark 2 turmoil on the Wise tab. Once turmoil exceeds control, things can get a little bit wobbly. So all the stuff, Chisel and Mallet, that came out of those initial discussions about, people not being a road. You want us to, to rip up nature and build a road. All of that is getting mixed in with possibility of food riots. It's all getting very tense in the Ashen Ward. Now, we know that you aren't going to convince people to leave the Ashen Ward by the end of the season. That role is done. But the longer this goes on, the more opportunities for other stuff to bubble out of that.
Yes.
And I'm
Sorry, Jason. Go ahead.
Let me just put one other thing in Alan's ear, just so for next week he can think about it. So for my zoom in, I'm thinking sort of like a heist of stealing that those raw materials coming down the river.
Love it.
Okay,
Okay.
that's all.
Sorry, Dan.
Yeah, I would like to retcon my house move, and I should probably find some crops. Now that we're builders, so we're very preoccupied with raw materials, but maybe we should feed our people too.
Exactly. They
So,
work better.
yeah, do you mind if I squeeze in a quick
read the wind? Yeah,
Would that be okay?
Yeah.
And just to remind myself, I think our reach is 2. I squeaked it out with a 7.
Wow. So on a 7, how
Could
can
I
we
help
get?
him? Could I help him? with
Hang
that?
on.
Can I-
So how? And just so I can check, the question is, how can we get surplus crops?
Yeah, where can we sort of find some land that's already arable, or that where crops are already growing, or grow some crops?
Now, Joe, are you wanting to lend aid here?
Yeah.
When you involve yourself in the actions of a house you have influence over, lose 1 influence and pass them a dice to use. Yeah. Do you want to help them, or
I don't know why you would ever do this for somebody else, but I'm feeling like exercising the moves of the game. So,
okay, so spend influence. Do you want to give them a dice for advantage, or do you want to give them a dice for disadvantage?
now I see why you might do this. No, I'm going to give them a dice for advantage. So,
okay, so Dan, do you want to roll another d6 and we'll?
Not one of Joe's dice, but sure. Yeah.
touche.
Oh, it's a 1. It's a 1. So nothing's going to change. Influence gets burned, Joe. But if the dice you gave comes up the highest, regain influence. If it's the lowest, the GM will say what misfortune you suffer. So, so it's a success in the sense of this is a 7 to 9. Choose one of your allies you consulted. Did you in fact want the Jezdec to be the people you consulted? Because it doesn't have to be.
Terrified of asking the Jezdec, based on everything that just transpired. But
I accidentally burned all your crops instead.
yes. Oh, you said crops. I thought you said crap. Yes. Jezdec, why don't you tell me where the crops are?
Okay. Where do you want to put the crops on the map? Where's a place to put crops?
It turns out the Army of the Imperial Dead are great fertilizers too. So
Am I putting the crops on, or is
you
Dan?
are? Yeah.
Oh boy.
Tell me where you want them, and I'll pop them on the map. Or you can do it.
How about in that nice big open space below the Army of the Imperial Dead?
Oh yeah, that's because I mean that's perfect prairie country, isn't it? And we've not got much habitation there, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So there's lots of farms and farmers in that open space. Is that okay where I've put it? Bang in the middle?
sure.
Okay, so there are crops to be had in those open plains to the north. Chisel Mallet. Gee whiz. Let me go to one last move for the Shining Path before we consider a zoom in. Or are you done with you're just going to aim
I
for your
think
zoom in?
I'm good until next week when I do a zoom in. So I think I'm good.
What about the Cursed? Any house moves in mind?
No, we're very preoccupied at the moment. The issue with the justice issue with the Jezdec is still brewing, but I'd rather that be addressed organically when something comes up. So I'm happy to.
That's fine. That's fine. Too busy arguing that, how you going to sort this out? Endless debate. They are the root of a Greek city-state, aren't they? The cursed. So let's go then to Cassie's zoom in. Now,
Can I real quick before we do that? Can I lobby to switch my role to champion for Gerel because of what he just did for the house and take an advancement? Would that fit into the
what does it say?
mark when your house needs something from bandits, outcasts, and margins of society?
Yeah,
for going and getting the soldiers.
yeah. No, I think that's fair. Yeah. Because certainly the cursed would count as the pilgrims are currently not part of any of your societies. No, that works. So you get an advancement, either +1 to a stat, or a new character move.
All right.
Just in case you're wanting to accelerate through all 4 of these, once you get the 4th one, after that you retire or die. So there's a pacing thing going on here as well.
There's a part at the end there, Alan. It says GM says who's seeking them to.
Yeah, I think that probably the Shining Path is seeking them too, because they're pilgrims coming to Al Tariq. They must have some belief in the Shining Path. Duh.
There you go.
And
Perfect.
they're seeking everything. So
the pilgrims must have some of that. Okay, so Cassie, this zoom in is yours. It was all about heading to the Riverlands, as I remember. But do you want to just tell us exactly what you've got in mind, and then I'll ask whether the other player characters want to join you, or whether you want to ask for one of the Arbiter's agents to join you, and whether any of them then want to just use quick characters from the Chisel Mallet.
Sure. I mean, what I had in mind was that Cassie was heading towards the Riverlands, and there are people there who are more familiar with sort of newer mechanical technologies. She has been designated to go and negotiate with them to get plans to build these construction machines that will accelerate the construction of the Great Road.
Yeah, the only narrative spin I might put on that is because we know that the Riverlands are marshy and lakes and rivers and dry land, that the kind of engineering techniques they have are all about, working in different land conditions. So this road is going to kind of follow a river, so it would be helpful for them to have that expertise. If that, yeah.
So they're used, because they're used to building in lots of different things. We're just hoping to learn some of the principles and stuff as well. So
fine. The way that could turn out is in the end something like surplus engineers, right, or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So let's go around the table. It feels a bit, I have to say, Joe, like Gerel has got his agenda is quite full at the moment, having just led a bunch of pilgrims back to confront the Army of the Imperial Dead. So, unless you can come up with a narrative reason why he then abandons that and heads for the Riverlands.
Nope, I'll do a quick character.
Jason, again, Salah, it seems like he's tied up, causing all kinds of trouble for both his own and other people's houses, and the Arbiter. So that leaves Elina as the obvious person who could go along for the ride. You will be going without your followers because I don't think enough time has passed, because Cassie just keeps on going towards the Riverlands. So Elina, do you want to join Cassie or not?
Yeah, the way first to answer, yes, I do. Second, the way I see it is that she'll often just appear wherever she, without being asked. All of a sudden, you realize that she's walking alongside you, and has inserted herself into whatever you're doing.
Fine. So Cassie and Elina are going along. Cassie, do you want to ask the Wise for one of their agents to accompany you or not?
did not go well before.
It did not.
I mean, we got a tiger. It's great.
Tiger out of the deal. but I think she's eager to impress the powers that be. And so she will want someone along that she feels like she can impress. So yes.
So which one? Shadow, fist, voice, falcon, or soul? We know something about the soul already, but you know,
Yeah,
the soul was a little bit kind of flaky.
That kid was a pain in
And
the
let me
ass.
stress, that soul, you get to choose who you want to offer it to first, if you want to offer it. It doesn't have to be Jason again, right?
Okay.
That character can rotate around any of the other players.
Well, let's I'm just reading these descriptions real fast. Let's do the Falcon.
Okay. Who do you want to offer the Falcon to?
Well, Elina's coming, so it's either Joe or Jason. Joe, since you didn't do this last time, you want to give it a shot? Okay, so.
I do have a question to ask Joe, or I will ask it before we start the Zoom in proper, which I didn't ask Jason last time for Katia. I'll do that some other time. Arbiter's instructions. When you begin playing the Falcon, say what is so valuable about the people and things the Arbiter is having you transport. So what is, the question I'm going to ask you is, what is so important about the Chisel and Mallet to the Arbiter, to the wise? Okay, give that some thought. And otherwise, I think the instructions are pretty straightforward. Might, bravery, cunning, law, and inheritance bonus, which is somewhere on the wise sheet, down in column VWXYZ, underneath the Arbiter moves. Add one to law or bravery.
All right, so take what they've listed here and then add one to bravery or lore.
Exactly. And you get the move I've been everywhere automatically, and then you pick one from the roll move below. Okay. Jason, you're going to create our first quick character then. And you'll find this is a Chisel and Mallet quick character. So if I take you to Chisel and Mallet, column O,
Okay.
you'll see there's a drop down for quick character role. And the roles of a quick character are champion, leader, outsider, or rogue. And what that will do is give them a specific role move. And then there are instructions for how the stats are sorted in the stats box. Make a start.
Yeah, I got it.
Joe, ask me if you've got any questions about your Falcon.
I don't think so.
Okay. So you just have to select one of those roll moves.
Do the Chisel and Mallet have like sort of naming conventions they use, or should I just make something up? Dan,
I've been using dwarf names from the fantasy name generator.
Okay.
Which I think we have linked on the Lines and Veils tab, I think.
And if
we've got the fact we might not have that exact generator, but we've got the link to the generators.
I've just pasted it in the chat.
Thank you.
While they're all doing that, I'm looking at sort of Cassie's advancement opportunities.
Yeah.
And she's kind of an innocent. So these sort of things to like bring down house or claim power feel very antithetical to her personality, but or distancing herself from her house. But I wonder, and Jason, let me know if this is okay. She's got mark when you for rogue, mark when you seek allies to bring down a corrupt leader down. I don't think that's necessarily within her own house. Maybe because she's had an unprofessional relationship with Salah in the past, she recognizes what Salah is trying to do to take over, sorry, go ahead.
It is inside the house.
It is inside the house.
Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah, this is about your role inside the house, I think.
Okay. That's easy enough. Then I think both the leader of the Mallet and the leader of the Chisel have their problems. And so she can be working to bring one of those down, or try and get a leadership position. Like she's trying to advance quickly. Okay.
Yeah. And if at some point you want to tell us who those NPCs are, because I think we currently have Gardiac Flatminer, the Sparkling Chisel Chief Architect.
I added her, and then I added Kittrick Yellowbraids.
Ah, you did. I've just sorted him. Thank you.
Who is the chief engineer of the Blazing Mallet.
So tensions between those two. Great.
Lots of tension.
Sorry, I did have one question.
Yeah.
Under advances, it says pick one every time the agent is selected.
Yeah, I think I did. I think I done Jason wrong last time. I think you should have got to select one of those, Jason. So if at some point you want to pick an advancement for Katia for that first selection, go ahead and do it.
Okay.
And yes, Joe, you can.
Okay.
I'll make a note to go back. Plus advancement for Katia.
Where would I find the ritual from the Legends of Roadhouses and Ramblers?
You have to imagine it.
Oh boy. This morning might not be the right morning for that.
No, exactly. Don't feel, we can deal with it if it crops up. But if you want to put a tick in that box, and then we can rough something out when it happens. Because I'm conscious that the preparation for the zoom in can sometimes take longer than the zoom in if you're not careful. This also, I do want to just pick up on a mechanical, because I did it very quickly last time because I was keen to get a zoom in done before we finished in session 2. Can I just ask you to take a look at your main character's gear? Because what I've tried to do is to shift the prepare and provision move that is in the rules to something that is more like Blades in the Dark. So, currently your gear, you've selected those assets for your house, that will automatically appear in your gear. But then there's a thing on row 73 called gear points. And gear points are equal to the number of non-dispersed surpluses that you have. So for instance, the Jezdec have no non-dispersed surpluses, so their gear points, Gerel's gear points is 0. There's also a gear move. You don't get any gear from your house, but you can start with transport with 1 extra tag. So in the case of Gerel, he applies the gear move before you start the zoom in. And then you can spend any gear points on what it says. If you look at the note attached to gear points, it'll tell you what you can spend it on in play. Because I've spent a lot of time sorting out what gear I want to take, and then I end up never using it. The only other thing I say, Dan, we will at some point need to tie down this chariot ritual. How are we doing on a quick character? During quick blade?
I think I'm ready. They don't get moves or anything, just stats as far as I can tell, right?
They get a roll move that varies with the
right.
one you choose. They get a death
Yeah.
move and an inheritance move.
Yeah, okay. I
Yeah.
think those are all just locked in though, based on,
Yeah. Once
what
you
we
choose
know.
champion, the rest is pretty much writes
yep,
itself.
I think I'm
It's-
ready. So let
it's-
me, for gear then, so if I understand what you're saying, since I'm part of the Chisel and Mallet, and he has, let's see, his are all dispersed, so I don't have any gear points then, right?
None at all.
Okay, so I just get the 3 things that they've already established. So I have a racing chariot, I have laborers, and I move on foot. Those are
And you get the gear move, which says when you prepare and provision, you can add a free tag to your transport or gain a new transport with 2 tags.
okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, if you want to tell us something about your particular racing chariot when the time comes, job's a good one. I am seeing each of you has a group of laborers. So I'm seeing the racing chariot and a bunch of laborers trudging on foot through inhospitable lands, hardy and strong, heading towards the Riverlands. when do we see the Falcon? Joe, what's our first sight?
I'll have a name momentarily, but I think I think that I like the idea of the group has kind of set out, and as they're setting out, the Falcon is there, like they come upon the Falcon waiting for them along the road or path or whatever.
But I did say I'd ask you this question. So what is so valuable about the people or things the Arbiter is having you transport? What is so important to the wise about the Chisel and Mallet? What have you learned, dreamt, envisioned?
Is this specifically about this or just more in general?
In general.
I was thinking about this. I'll throw this out there that the Chisel and Mallet for the wise, the Chisel and Mallet are sort of the not to use a pun here, but sort of the rock, right? They see the Chisel and Mallet as the house that is at the center of it, you know, kind of like that core strong rock that they would rebuild around. Foundation. Yes. Nice.
Yeah, I just scribbled down the rock upon which the land of the wise is built. Let's hope they don't let you down.
No pressure.
No pressure. So I think in terms of the map,
You say this to Cassie?
Oh, that's interesting.
Did you mention this to Cassie Falcon?
I
Because
think so.
she doesn't need that
I
pressure.
think we see. I think we see. I like that. I like that. I like that. That Cassie's leading out. You know, we've kind of established, if I remember correctly, that she's got a bit of anxiety about of this and everything. And you come upon the Falcon, who is waiting, and the Falcon, you know, nods, acknowledging, and says to her, you know, that you know, the wise, you know, says those words, right? Basically says to her that you will be the rock upon which, you know, our new lands, are built upon, and then just kind of turns and starts walking to lead them along the way. So kind of
fine. And what I'm going to suggest is we take a short break now, and then we'll come back after that meeting. I'm seeing the meeting taking place in the shadow of the northwestern statue, which stands out in this area overlooking this low-lying Riverlands, and we'll start heading away from there and what happens next. Okay, so it is just before the hour now. Shall we say back in our seats at 5 past? I'll see you then. Okay, back from our final break and ready for our zoom in. I think we open with heading down into the Riverlands, this area of lakes interconnected by rivers and streams and boggy ground and swamps. And we see Cassie and her laborers. And did we get a name for that quick character, Jason? Oh, Durin the Hammer, yeah.
Durin the Hammer, yep.
Who is a champion of the Chisel and Mallet along, well, I mean, how does Durin see his role on this trip?
I think he's kind of like a bodyguard.
Makes perfect sense. And Elina of the Cursed, friend of Cassie, or at least acquaintance, along to provide the kind of scouting skills she has, and also an agent of the Arbiter, an agent of the wise, the Falcon, called Verhalf. And so we see you going down into this network of swamp and marsh and river and lake. Cassie, you are the leader of this expedition. What do you want to happen next? Where are you heading? What do you know?
I pictured Cassie taking a moment at that statue at the outskirts. These represented some of the heroes of the rebellion, if I remember correctly. And this one in particular was erected because it represented a alliance with the Riverlands. And so she sort of took a moment, maybe even
I'll tell you
said a
what.
little prayer. Go
I
ahead.
tell you what, I think you're just trying to unearth forgotten lore.
Yes, that is definitely what I was trying to do.
When you investigate a landmark or ritual from the past, roll plus lore and ask one question or two questions, or maybe get an answer you don't like. So 2d6 plus lore, let's see where we get with that.
Everything is plus 1.
Elina might be able to help here.
Now, call for aid is a post-roll move. So thanks for putting that on the table. Let's see whether Cassie needs or wants to take advantage of that based on previous rolls today.
Oh,
No brainer.
I do realize that. Sorry, I'm looking at a house move,
Ah,
but Elina doesn't have access to a house move. So
no, we're zoomed in
so
now.
never mind. I can't do shit.
Okay. Okay. Well,
I did actually roll a 9.
now that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Because if you did call for aid after failing to roll as well as you'd like, you may say what a character nearby can do to boost your efforts. If the group agrees, the helper says how they do it and rolls plus an appropriate stat.
I mean, Elina has provided advice to me in the past.
She has, and if you have relevant backstory, they would roll with advantage. Were you interested, Elina?
This is Cassie we're talking about, right?
This is helping Cassie, yeah.
Yeah, I guided her once through the wilderness. I'm never gonna do that again.
I don't blame you. Anyone who helps me, it doesn't.
No, that's
end
part
well.
of that's part of the backstory we created.
It is.
Yes.
So she is sitting this one out.
Yeah. I picture Cassie kind of looking over to her like, but realizing that she's not going to help. So,
do you want to see?
She turns out she's not even there. She's wandered off somewhere.
The way she does. Do you want to throw that to Durin or to Verhalf the Falcon?
This is calling for aid.
Yeah, I'm okay with just asking one question.
Fine.
I feel like,
okay.
I feel like I want to just take my marginal hit and go with it.
Again, I will interpret the questions as broadly as I reasonably can.
Yeah. I think I want to gain advantage on finding common ground, or Cassie thinks that this is what she needs, is some advantage when she attempts to negotiate with the Riverfolk.
And you set out with a bit of fiction here about the statue in some way being linked to the folk of the Riverlands.
Right. And so perhaps it's helping me recall kind of the essence of the connection between them. So maybe what I'm asking is, what is it that what is the common ground that we have? What is our starting point for negotiating with these folks? Does that seem okay?
So I'm looking at whose ancestors are most tied to it. It is the ancestors of the Riverlanders, and I think that the common history you share, the backstory you share in a way, I think, is that they too fell under the sway of the Empire. They did not choose to follow the way of the wise, but the weakness of the Empire after the rebellion meant that they too could free themselves. So there is probably, I wouldn't write it as big as influence, but I think there's certainly respect for the wise among the Riverlanders. Does that seem like a reasonable kind of opening across the threshold gambit?
Is it sufficient to give me advantage on finding common ground?
Well, because it says get fleeting advantage acting on the answer. So, yeah, as long as you don't go in there with guns blazing, I can't see why they wouldn't be willing to listen to you.
Cassie wouldn't even know how to do that. So, yes.
I think we're going to cut to a Riverlander settlement on some high ground not unlike what's behind me, perhaps. What approach are you taking? Elina, what are you doing? Durin and Verhalf, what do we see you doing? So, Cassie, think about the approach you want to take as you get in here. Elina, drifting off as always. What, if anything, do we see you do, or what?
I think she is now we don't have a at the moment there is no antagonistic force here, is that correct?
No.
Okay. So she is going to be scouting around to get a better feel for the people here. So she is going to separate herself a bit from the main entourage, probably having gone ahead and kind of passing herself off more just as a hunter or a you know, just somebody who's interested in getting to know the settlement a bit before everybody else gets there.
Would it be fair to say that you want to know whether there are any traps or dangers sitting here?
Yeah.
Unearth forgotten lore. What dangers is this place hiding? Roll plus lore. Oh, it's a 10. Oh, it's a 9. It's a 9.
It's not.
It's a 9. So on a 9, what dangers is it hiding? I am going to, I've given them some surpluses. I am going to give them a need.
Sorry, just slight confusion here.
Okay.
My faction has the fresh eyes, but that's only when I'm the fresh eyes move. It says when your characters unearth forgotten lore, they may ask a follow-up question based on the GM answers.
No, that's absolutely fine. That's fine.
Okay.
So you as a character unearth it, you get the benefit of the house move. So I think what I will tell you is that you know, at these boundary areas, these borderlands, people leak across the borders, so they're not surprised to see someone. You don't look hugely different from them. You don't behave much different from them. So as just somebody passing through the settlement, you get the distinct impression that the locals are worried about some threat.
Okay, well, then my follow-up question is, what's the threat?
Okay. There are the Riverlands off the map to the northwest. The Riverlands connects to a great network of rivers running off into the northwest. And there are dangerous raiders, ship and boat-borne raiders, who have been moving from the northwest into the Riverlands. So there is another faction out there, which we might call the Raiders or something, and they are the threat that the Riverlanders fear. Seem fair as a answer? Okay. And you know, you tell me if and when you communicate that back to Cassie and the others. Falcon, what are we seeing of you as you make your way into the Riverlands and or approach the this settlement?
So I think Verhalf is spending time with Cassie. So I have a roll move called Deep Lore, which is the first time you advise someone based on your knowledge of ancient traditions, they gain fleeting advantage acting on your words. I think that what we'll see is Verhalf talking to Cassie and giving her information, helping her understand the traditions of the Riverfolk, so that when she engages them, she understands like the protocols and things like that that she should follow, so that she doesn't faux pas anything.
Fleeting advantage. What about Durin? Any particularly bodyguardy things you want to do? You just want to wait and see what happens?
Yeah, wait. I'll just stand beside Cassie with a big old hammer.
Yeah. Not one of those nice geological ones that are used as a symbol, but this is a big hammer. So Cassie, Elina, are you rejoining the group having done this kind of advanced party work? Or are you being in the settlement separate, or are you left the settlement you want to observe?
No, she returns.
Fine.
And mentions briefly to Cassie quietly what she has discovered about these raiders, and that they could pose a problem.
So Cassie, you've the preliminary work's been done. How do we see you? What does the approach look like?
Hang on. Sorry, just messed up our character keeper. I think there's sort of a central structure where the Riverfolk leadership sits. They've been sent advance word that we are coming, so they're expecting us. And I've brought with me a token of both the wise, which I think is a tree branch of some sort, and of our house, the Chisel Mallet, which is sort of a ceremonial, smaller versions of chisel and a mallet, kind of not functional, but more decorative. And so I bring those to the leadership. I'm imagining the Riverfolk maybe have a council of sort of 6 elders who represent them. So I sort of pass these off to them, and I sort of go through all the motions. I'm very good at memorizing these little rituals. So I kind of go through all the motions of greeting, expressing a gratitude for the meeting, and saying how honored I am to be here.
I'm going to create Mnet, the chief elder, as the face of the folk of the Riverlands, and there's polite acceptance. Are you angling towards one of your character moves? Because you've got a move called Long Memories. When you enter a new court role plus lore, do you want to? Is that where you're going?
Oh, you know, I've not been thinking about that. Thank you for the reminder. Yes, I definitely. Hang on.
Because I also wondered, there's also one of them when you mimic the customs and mannerisms of the people you're dealing with. Roll plus cunning. Given what Verhalf the Falcon has told you about these people, you would roll that with advantage.
Yes, let's do that.
Okay.
I feel like I just Cassie's personality. I was imagining as Verhalf was whispering in my ear, Cassie was doing one of those like I know kind of things, even though she didn't know. Okay, so I will roll with cunning. I roll an advantage.
Yes.
I rolled an 11.
Well, will you look at that? So on an 11, on 10 plus, you duplicated their manners effortlessly. They're set at ease and will trust you and consider your words. The politeness is turns into warmth, and all of you are invited to join the elders for a meal in this kind of central. I'm thinking an open-sided kind of market, squarey kind of place. where people can be seen negotiating, so nothing goes on behind closed doors. It's all very open, and food and drink is served, and everything goes swimmingly. So it's as good as it could be at this point. Verhalf, what do you want to do anything, or are you just kind of waiting in the wings?
I think just waiting in the wings. And just for clarification, are the agents of the wise are they just people, or are they like embodiments of something different? I'm just kind of curious.
They are people. We had this bit of a conversation this last time about Katia. Katia is a person, but you are embodiments of the will of the wise, I guess.
Okay.
Chosen. We haven't talked about how you might have been identified, but at any one time there is one of each of these agents in the land.
Yeah, I think he's just kind of at the thing, participating and in the wings a bit.
What's his demeanor? Is he open and friendly? Is he, kind of withdrawn and stony faced? What's his default?
I think I'm gonna go this time around with open and friendly. So just kind of enjoying the hospitality, talking with whoever, and whatever. So
Do the Riverlanders know that Verhalf is a agent of the wise, because they rejected the wise and maybe are a little suspicious?
Yeah, there's respect for the wise, because after the event, the Empire was weakened by the actions of the wise, but they refused the offer to join the rebellion. So I think I'll leave it to Verhalf if and when he wants to reveal his status. Durin? Anything or nothing? Enjoy the food? Polish your hammer?
Sure. Ale, sure, whatever they got.
Elina?
Elina is going to disappear again. Strangely.
That might be rude, given you've been invited to break bread with these people.
Oh, okay. Then in
I mean,
that case,
just take that on.
I'm sticking around.
But what did you have in mind?
No, she's just not much of a people person. So these kind of social situations make her extremely uncomfortable.
In the room, but not in the room.
Well, yeah, or yes.
So Cassie, this goes really well. What is the pitch here?
I think the pitch is that I mean, she didn't know about the Marauders, or what I've been calling the Raiders. I think so. The idea was we want to continue to learn from you and build on the foundation of trust and friendship. And I think she's willing to entertain any requests from them. In my imagination, they might be requesting some sort of military aid, but Cassie may not realize that yet.
And that's when the screaming starts.
Of course.
I'm going to go to the Falcon first. What do you do when the screaming starts?
Do we know where is it just
over there?
Over there? I think maybe just fictionally, I think we'll move to that area to see what's happening.
Durin?
Do you want to be riding in my big war chariot with me on the way over there?
I think no.
Okay.
But thank you for the offer.
So it sounds like Durin is climbing into the third. Yeah. Along with you taking the laborers with you, or is it just you in the chariot?
Probably just me in the chariot.
Okay, Elina, what about you when the screaming starts?
She immediately disappears.
And Cassie,
Elina is not a frontline anything. So she first has to understand the situation and learn how it could best be exploited before she does anything.
fine. And Cassie, what about you?
My instinct is to try and get the elders to safety.
Fine. Which means doing what?
I'm going to instruct my laborers to enclose around them and move them in the opposite direction of this. I feel like I'm always moving in the opposite direction of screaming.
Is that just your laborers or you as well?
Oh, me too. Me too.
Okay. Okay.
Can I amend slightly what I was saying?
Of course.
Can I say that in the fact that I arrived here early and began, asking around and getting the lay of the land here, could I say that I found one person in particular who was quite willing to talk to me and who gave me the information on the raiders?
Yeah.
So I did disappear, but I disappeared to move to find that person.
And of course, that
and make sure that
cottage
okay.
is where the screaming's coming from.
Of course. So yeah. So I am headed in that.
You're heading that way, but with the intent of looking after that person or persons, that family, whatever it is. Whereas I have a suspicion Durin has something else in mind. Durin, what is your objective?
Bash some skulls.
So just, whip this chariot into a lather and charge at where the screaming is coming from. Yeah, and there are some, we see you swerve around a couple of buildings to, get there in a hurry. And I think what you will see is people running from that part of the settlement, away from the dock, the main dock, or onto the lake. Because a serpent-headed ship is disgorging a load of mighty thewed northerners onto the dock. It feels like you're aiming to fiercely assault these.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yep.
Falcon, you're going to arrive after the chariot. But is your intention to see off any invasion or to protect people or what?
I think the Falcon is not really probably necessarily a I don't know. I think yes, to try to see off people. I'd like to try to find a fictional positioning to use the disarm move. So I'm thinking about whether that doesn't look like a wade in with a weapon sort of move. It feels more like a
I mean, do you want to try and keep the peace here in some way?
I think so. I mean, when I look at the Falcon, their role overall is to bring the will of the wise to the borders. So I think maybe the Falcon is going to attempt to de-escalate the situation by essentially threatening the raiders with the ire of the wise, right? That by doing this, they will have made an enemy of the wise.
Fine. So this is going to roll plus bravery. Let's start with Durin, because I think that some of these northern marauders sweep around the side of a cottage in pursuit of, and the cottage is, of course, Elina, the one where the person you made friends with is to be found. So they're the first off the boat. They're running heading towards the center of the settlement. What do we see you do, Durin?
I'm going to ride after them and try to, scatter them and smash, whoever I can. I have this tag on my transport mighty, gain advantage when you fiercely assault a smaller scale foe. Does that count?
I think that does, because you're in a big ass chariot. You described it as such. So, so I think, yeah, you roll with advantage, roll with might with advantage.
All right.
Does it,
and
this
+2.
sounded like, is this to lay them low or drive them off?
Probably mostly to drive them off.
Fine,
That'll give the Falcon his opportunity, maybe demoralize and drive them.
fine.
Okay, so here we go. 3 dice +2. This can't go wrong. Nope, 13.
Will you look at that? So on a hit, you've achieved your goal. So they scatter, which will, I think, appropriately buy time for the Falcon to try his alternative. On a 10+, you choose 2 and the GM chooses 1. Yours are avenue for escape is clear, inflict savage, terrifying harm, and frighten your foe, scavenge a useful piece of gear in the aftermath, learn something useful, ask a question, fleeting advantage acting on it.
Okay, let's see. I choose 2, you choose 1. Okay. I will say my avenue of escape is clear, and I inflict a savage, terrifying harm and frighten your opponents.
Fine. That you know, that initial kind of roaring mob of Northmen is scattered by the chariot, and that, you know, that will leave them disorganized. Elina, before I go to the Falcon for a disarm, how do you, what do we see in terms of you trying to rescue this person or family?
Well, first I need to know what the situation is.
Okay, well, their cottage is on the lake, and therefore, you know, it is the prime first target for these Northmen. Now, Durin has scattered that first wave off the boat. The first dozen or so got off the boat. So you have an opportunity to do something, but I need to know narratively, what do you want to do?
She is going to try and get them out of there safely.
That sounds like disarm, roll with bravery, unless you've got a playbook move that does something similar better.
Alan, on the fiercely assault, I think you choose 1 from the GM.
Oh, I do. Others will come after you. So I think having driven this first wave off, the second wave is going to come after you. That, I think, is where the Falcon's effort may stop that pursuit. Elina?
Yeah, she's just going to roll plus bravery.
Okay. That's a 9.
9.
Yeah, fine. So on a 7 to 9, you bought some time, but choose 1. Safety demands a sacrifice. I say what? It's only temporary safety and the danger will soon return. The danger is still present, but threatening someone or something else.
Yeah, I think it's I've gotten them out of there safely, but the danger obviously is still to the rest of the village and to Durin, who's, you know, driven them off, but he's now drawn their focus.
He has. So you've got this family out, but if this doesn't go well, you know, wave 2 is going to be just as big a problem. So Falcon, how are you going to, you know, stop them in their tracks by quoting the wisdom of the wise to them or whatever?
Yeah, I think what we'll see is the Falcon kind of arrives. The chariot has burst off, you know, in that area, and I think the Falcon sees, you know, the warriors are coming down, but there's the person who's clearly the leader, right?
Yeah.
And I think the Falcon arrives, and there's eye contact with the leader, and the Falcon will. There's some way that they are an agent of the wise is revealed, right? If anybody has a good idea, just throw it out there. But I'm also kind of thinking that maybe that when he speaks, it's not him speaking, it's the wise, right? So it has this sort of almost resounding, sort of characteristic to it. And you see him saying to the, to halt this, or this village is under the protection of the wise. I will say.
Great.
He will say.
So that does sound like a brave thing to do. So let's have you roll with bravery to see if you can disarm this situation.
I am absolutely sure this will go exactly as I have it planned, based on 9.
9. Is
So
there
plus 2.
anyone in the vicinity that you may say what a character nearby can do to boost your efforts? Because you could turn that 9 into a 10, couldn't you?
Could we potentially say that the actions of Durin would have potentially shaken, the situation up enough that it would cause pause to the leader?
Okay, so that would mean that the helper says how they do it and rolls plus an appropriate stat. So how can Durin help here?
Maybe you see Durin in the background, driving his chariot around, smashing people, creating turmoil, showing dominance, so to speak. Maybe that show might help here.
So that sounds like roll plus might, doesn't it?
Yeah. Do I roll with advantage or not?
I don't think so.
No, probably not. I don't think my tag does that. Okay, great. Here we go.
No, it's only fiercely assault, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a 9.
It's a 9. So
You also share in the consequences.
Okay, so if they get a hit, increase the result from a 7 to 9 to a 10, so it becomes a 10 plus as an outcome. If there are any consequences, Durin's also in the crosshairs. 10 plus. The situation is safe unless changed significantly. And she kind of whistles, complicated whistle, and slowly these northerners kind of back off, form some kind of shield wall across the wharf where the ship is docked, and she comes through the shield wall, and looks at you, Verhalf, and says, "Who are these wise?"
How to characterize?
I mean, it's an interesting question. What
It is
I'm happy for you to ask the table. Who are the wise?
Yeah.
How are they talked about? How are they?
Perhaps we would this a part of this response is the wise is the land beneath you, the sky above you, the sea you sail upon. The wise is everything, and anything. So I probably should have just stopped after the first part of that, but
She says, "I am Ulfrin Helgar's daughter. Tell these wise, we are coming." And they fall back on, unless somebody wants to interrupt their departure, they're retreating onto the boat. And then they begin to row away across the lake.
Go
on, Elina.
I have an idea.
Oh, go
on. But I'm not sure how to translate it into game terms.
Well, you tell me narratively and let me worry about the rules.
I think it would be interesting if her people, the cursed, back where they're from, had some interaction with these people. Maybe, they were separate people, but they knew them and they had interactions with them. Or if you think it's more interesting, they could be a member of the cursed that simply did not succumb to the empire and retained their power and were not brought in chains to this land.
We determined, didn't we, that you among your people are people who've come from the north. I'm not particularly keen on them being a kind of offshoot of the cursed, because that implies some kind of relationship that I'd want to explore a bit more before we got to that point. I think that either they are some of the people who stayed behind and fought off whatever threat forced you south, or they are the threat that forced you south. Which one appeals to you most?
The latter.
They are an aggressive northern people who have driven certainly some members of the cursed, or their father's father, mother's mother, from the north. We will call them the Marauders for now, and I've simply identified her as a face, but clearly they are a warlike people, and the north is coming.
And Elina knows this because she recognizes some of the symbols that they carry on their ship, weapons, armor, shields, you name it. It is a, because she herself is not of the generation that were forced south, but she knows of these people, or that she recognizes the symbol.
I'm going to rename them as the Marauding Serpents. It is the way that their ship keels and the carvings on their ships resemble serpents somehow, and they are the Marauding Serpents
It had to be
of the
said.
north. Yeah. Cassie, seen off the immediate threat, how do you want to close out this zoom in so you get something out of this?
It's going so well. I think I still want to find the common ground. I think our marginal victory here allows us to say, to understand the threat and say that by giving us this knowledge, we can use it not only to complete our project, but potentially create great machines that can defend the Riverlands.
Then I think that is find common ground. Given the context, I think you have advantage.
All right. 3d6 plus 1.
Oh my, 2, 3, and 1 makes a whole 6. After failing a roll as well as you'd like, you may say what a character nearby can do to boost your efforts.
I would really like the Falcon to speak to the power of the wise and elaborate on how much we can be helpful to them once we sort of unite our groups together.
How does that feel, Falcon?
I think I like it. I kind of like the idea of Cassie is doing this. You can kind of see she's trying to convince them, and you see their faces. You see it starting to go bad, right? And then the Falcon steps in and reminds them of the time of the Empire, and reminds them of what of how we drove the Empire from these lands, and while because did we establish that they were not under the Empire's control, or were they?
They were, and they took your rebellion and the weakness it caused in the Empire,
right,
to free themselves.
Right. And so I think that he will remind them, of these things, and that clearly, your lands are you are under, I'm losing the words here, but your lands are at risk again. And this time though, you're reminding them what it was like to be under the Empire and those sort of things. So
I think that sounds like cunning. Yeah.
and so I roll now.
You are rolling 2d6 plus cunning.
+1. Okay. All right. 8.
8. If they get a hit, increase your result by 1 category. So Dan, you're looking at 7 to 9. And if there are consequences, they overlap to Joe. So on a 7 to 9 for find common ground, their player picks 2 and both must be met. So on a hit, they are willing to contemplate this, but they'll only do it you reduce a threat. No, go on.
I have an idea for one aspect. They won't teach me this technique, but they will send some of their engineers back with us. So I don't gain any new knowledge, but I'm now dependent on these folks to help build these machines. Is one idea.
I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to send engineers. I don't think they were ever going to, you're talking about a lifetime of training at this point.
Oh, yeah.
I think. So I think they're always going to send you some engineers. But I think in terms of how do we back out as soon as the task costs them anything, you reduce the threat you pose to them, you give them something that's worth it.
I can also
they are going to get influence on your faction.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, so I'll add that later. And I think actually I want to put, you'll reduce the threat the Marauding Serpents pose to them.
Sure.
Yeah. So somehow you are going to need to demonstrate, someone's going to need to demonstrate the wise, in inverted commas, are going to need to support against the Marauders. But you are going to get surplus engineers. You can mark that now. And I'll make a note here of +1 influence on Chisel and Mallet. And Elmet ends up, I think we close out the scene with a group of the Riverlanders forming up and following you towards the statue you can see on the distant horizon that signals the boundary of the land of the wise.
Great.
And that's where we'll roll credits.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished, Cassie. I'd like just spend 5 minutes on a quick stars and wishes, if that's okay. So in the order I can see you, Joe, any stars, any wishes?
I'm going to be generic today. I just think, again, stars, the story's progressing, the houses are, and everything's kind of, coming out. Just general, it was good stuff again today. I was kind of complaining about how hard it was and stuff, but it
is hard.
But I am enjoying it, right? And everything. Wishes, I think just to keep exercising the game, right? And just seeing what happens. I'm kind of in for whatever happens. I'm not spending a lot of time trying to determine anything until the moment. So I'm letting her ride. So
I think that's it's the way I play the game. Dan, any stars, any wishes?
Alan, you're doing such a good job running this and keeping all the plates spinning. I am just beyond impressed. So thank you for that. I'm having a really, really good time. I didn't want to call out Jason. I feel like you're doing such a great job. You've got this, it seems like a nice backstory and sort of intrigue planned. And I just really enjoying watching the Shining Path deal with all their crap. And the Chisel and Mallet are very literal people, as I'm a very literal person. So I'm trying to build on what you're doing and introduce some intrigue. And that is my wish, right? To kind of have Cassie stir things up a little bit more rather than just play the straight and narrow. So
Cassie gets freaky. Okay.
I mean,
Your
sure.
body, your choice.
Yes.
Alex, any stars, any wishes?
Yeah, stars for me are this is the first time I've played a game. Well, I'm in Dan's game, which also has the faction versus individual not dichotomy, but division. So, but it's basically for me the first time playing in a game like that. I've never done that. So I'm learning a lot because you know, in standard role-playing games, you always the GM has to be very careful with you know, limiting intra-party conflict. And obviously that is a part of this game. The way it's built is that intra-party conflict is an integral part of the game. Therefore, it's causing me to shift my view on what role-playing games are and what the desired outcome of them should be and what you should be aiming for and not aiming for when you're playing a game and when you're running a game. So I'm learning a lot, I guess, is what it comes down to.
Great. Any wishes?
No, not in particular. I'm enjoying playing Elina and developing more and you know, look forward to doing that some more, but also some more house moves too.
Jason, any stars, any wishes?
Yeah, so I'm following up on what Alex says. Like there was that point, maybe you're talking about, you know, where Alan was like, you know, why don't you just take the coin from the shiny path? Very nice of him to say so. And it's perfectly fine. Feel free to do so. I don't want anybody to hesitate, you know, to take my stuff because I'm going to be taking yours. So, I like today that we went around a few times for house moves. I think that was a good idea. I think it really helps to enrich things and get things on the table before we went into the zoom in. So I think that was great. I was going to say, you know, like it's so easy to lose your resources. So there's sort of a tendency as we go along, I think, to have like sort of a downward spiral, but maybe that's the way to play it. You know, maybe we just hit bottom and see what happens. Little note for Alan, I wrote up for Katya, the soul. I made up a ritual. Take a look at that, see if that is sort of within the parameters. It seems like it's a very open-ended sort of creation process for rituals. So
It is.
So we'll have to kind of bang that out. Let's see. Oh, and I really liked Joe, your little monologue about, you know, when you answer the question of who are the wise, you spit out some nice stuff. I like that. I think it captured the feel. So good job. I think that's it.
Wishes?
Wishes. No, nothing comes to mind.
Stars from me. Joe, for all that you're slightly worried, I think, about the number of rules and how they interact, I thought it was really cool when Gerel kind of says, don't I have influence on the Pilgrims? Don't they have a lot of people? Don't I have a battle on the horizon? You know, I thought it was really cool. And I also liked the kind of off the cuff summoning up what the wise are enough so that Helga's daughter was nervous enough to leave. Dan, I think that the way that Cassie, I am very keen. If it's a wish rather than a star, maybe it is that wish to see what's going to happen to Cassie, because I think she is the kind of she's the person that the young people watching this show on Netflix are going to be identifying with. You know, the not quite certain about how to do stuff and looking for advice, sometimes getting it, sometimes not getting it, that kind of stuff. All good. Alex, I think Elina is an agent of the wise in waiting. This kind of slightly ethereal, you know, just drifting off, you know, just being around. an embodiment of the wise and of the land, I think is what Elina's shaping up in my mind for. And Jason, thank you for, your familiarity with some of the rules and keeping me honest. That's really helpful. Reminding me when I get halfway through a move that there is more to it than that, because I'm already on, 2 moves on. Really helpful. Thank you so much for that. And Salah is a real bastard. And I just to reassure you, I hope that this feels like house versus house rather than player versus player. I hope that line is solid and clear. And if it isn't, drop the X card in and we'll just tease it out. But yeah, it is a place where, you got a chance to take other people's stuff. So I'll thank you for that. I'm going to stop the recording now. Oh, let me ask first, is everyone okay with me publishing this? Yeah, great. Thank you, folks. Let me stop the recording.